All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So before we get into today's video, we have a sponsor for today's video, and that sponsor is The Ridge. As you probably know from our previous spots, they make high-quality compact wallets out of metal and elastic, and I've used and loved them for years. But I've recently been fond of the premium Damascus steel style. If you'd like to get yours, you can head to ridge.com/Brozime and enter code Brozime for 10% off. And thanks so much to The Ridge for sponsoring us once again. All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So before we get started, I do want to address that obviously the audio quality is probably a little lower and stuff. TLDR, I am at my parents' due to some stuff going on with my family, and I'm going to be here for a little while, so audio quality and stuff is probably going to be a little lower. I'm going to try and keep the gameplay quality as high as I can. But yeah, while I'm here, unfortunately, I don't have my normal full audio setup, so hopefully it sounds pretty good. I'm going to try and do my best with it. But today, we are, well, basically celebrating and finding out some things. This is the free-to-play account, and we have unlocked the Steel Path. And now, I'm just going to take what I've got so far and just show what we're using, and then get on some Steel Path stuff and start farming some Acolytes. We've done this a little bit on stream on some other nodes, but I wanted to do it with just going through and unlocking all the nodes that I needed to get to some starter areas for farming the different arcanes that I'm going to need. And yeah, so basically, Zephyr, we're on Zephyr Prime, and we've pretty much just been running this. Once again, if you don't bring Thieves' Wit and you use a correct polarity aura, this does completely fit on regular Zephyr with no Forma, so you don't even need Zephyr Prime in order to do this. Obviously, we have no arcanes right now, but if I, take the time to, max out the Nightwave, which I should be doing here pretty soon, I would actually have a rank 1 Energize, which would be pretty helpful, but we don't have that yet, and I'm not going to expect most people to just always, have that on the Nightwave, so we're going to go without that. And then we have the Fulman, which is going to be a mainstay combo piece, basically, for Zephyr, in that we're utilizing Hunter Munitions and a decent build, decent viral build for the Fulman in order to fire this through multiple of her tornadoes, getting multiple very large slash procs through our tornadoes, and of course utilizing the extra crit chance that we get while we're in the air with Zephyr in order to get those really big crits very, very consistently with a over 100% crit chance. Should be very powerful and able to take things down very easily, and that is before we even get into any of the primary arcanes, which is what we're going to be farming. Otherwise, I do have an Epitaph with me. This weapon's not going to be particularly useful. It would be extremely useful if I had the Impact Converter mod. I believe it's Hemorrhage for secondaries. If I had gone and farmed that out of Railjack, I could have that on here, although it would take some Forma, and that would be very good. But I have not gone and done that, and that is going to be a bit more rare. But we do have the Epitaph kicking around as just, it's like a kind of a status applicator, and we can charge it up if we need to for some headshots or something. And then, of course, we have our mainstay, the Zorus. So the Zorus, absolutely incredible. This weapon's fantastic. I have upgraded to a rank 7 sacrificial steel from what we were using before. Although I think for the purposes of Acolytes, it might actually be better to just go back to a radiation build, just for the purposes of taking them down more quickly, as we're not, the crit isn't that different. It's 160 versus the 120 here, which is an additional 60% on our heavy attacks, which is not that crazy. Probably going to actually be more benefit to use radiation against the Acolytes, but yeah, I mean, this build, it's super accessible. Obviously, this is no Forma. Really easy to get into. Hardest mod here to get is Corrupt Charge. Super, super simple stuff. And obviously, also, adding one Forma to this build would allow you to do so very much. You could then, be using a max Sacrificial Steel, depending on what kind of Forma you put in here. Or just upgrading Molten Impact just to max rank and getting, the other 30% elemental damage. There's plenty of significant upgrades that you could put on here to make the Zorus even stronger, but this is just very base level, very easy to access. And then for companions, we do have the ungilded Sly Vulpa, mostly just for access to Animal Instinct and Fetch. Like that's really what this is here for, but the evasion can sometimes also be useful between casts on Zephyr of her 3. So yeah, good stuff here, and it's also just a pet that doesn't die, which is of course very, very useful. But yeah, that's going to be what we're going in with, and I wanted to elaborate on like the node that we're going to, because the node that we're going to is Wahiba. So this is a Steel Path survival against Infested. I do generally prefer to go against the Grineer whenever I'm farming for Acolytes on the Steel Path, just because the Grineer are very predictable and they don't have like as many Energy Leech Eximus and also don't have Nullifiers, but the Infested are pretty similar to the Grineer in terms of how we're going to be dealing with them with Zephyr, so it should be fine. And getting to some of like the good nodes in the Steel Path takes a little bit longer. So for getting to Wahiba, the way that I've gotten here is actually there was a Steel Path incursion on Alator. So I just did that, and because it was near enough to a decent node, Wahiba, I could just go here, do the spy real quick, and then get into this survival. And that's generally going to be what I'm going to advise people to do. Doing your Steel Path incursions is just good in general for unlocking nodes, and because this does unlock nodes and gives you the extra Steel Essence, and is really easy to party up for, because of course this is going to be what most people would gravitate towards doing if they're going to be doing Steel Path stuff for the day. This makes it really easy to get to planets and get through nodes that might otherwise be super annoying for you, because on Earth, you'd have to go through the Plains of Eidolon Steel Path bounty, and that's honestly just, like, long. So if you don't want to do that, you can just find basically, you know, any kind of decent node here. Like, you could get, like, Ares, Aura, Alator, like, you could, yeah, Ultor. Like, there's a bunch, and you could even get just straight-up Wahiba as well. Just getting any node in here that can get you towards, like, this survival here, or even on, like, Venus if it was up for Ishtar, and then you unlock Malva. These missions are all over, and you can just unlock them slowly and see which one you prefer. My main preference would have been to go to Draco, or alternatively, to go to Tavnui on the Kuva Fortress, which I know this build can very comfortably do. But the problem with that is that in the way of this is Nabuk, and no one wants to do this mission. Like, this is like a mega dead node with terrible rewards, so especially on the Steel Path, no one's going to be doing this, and it is a very annoying mission. So I'm better off waiting until this mission or Pago or Tavnui are on just one of the Steel Path incursions in order for me to get up to this, because it's just like needlessly annoying otherwise, and I'm taking this just kind of chill, all things considered. I have been working through nodes, though, in the Steel Path, because originally, without that incursion, I was planning just to go to Apollodorus, and Apollodorus and Wahiba are basically the same node, just on a different tile set, which matters a little bit, but doesn't really matter a whole lot. We did some Apollodorus on stream, just taxied over there, and getting there is super, super simple, because if we look at like the nodes that you need to go through to get there, you've got 2 exterminates, then you've got a capture mission, and then you have a defense, but you don't have to do that. You can just do the interception, which is totally like simple to do. Then it's just spy, and then through here you're just an exterminate again, a spy, a capture, a mobile defense. Like, it's very simple stuff. The hardest thing is probably the junctions actually on Steel Path levels. Then another exterminate and a mobile defense. Then you're out of Apollodorus, and Apollodorus is a really good farm node as well for these arcanes. So yeah, you could go to Apollodorus as well if you're happening to not get lucky on your incursions, but I took a little shortcut over to Wahiba as it was available. So yeah, now we're just gonna jump in here, farm a little bit, do like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes or something, depending on how it goes, and grab some of these arcanes, as this build should be very capable of doing this. Worth noting, I am choosing to bring the Zorus instead of the Stropha that I farmed, because the Zorus is much easier access than the Stropha, and some people won't want to farm it. So I decided to go with the less good for hunting Acolytes, but much easier to access Zorus over the Stropha. If you do have a Stropha, would highly advise taking that, as it completely shreds Acolytes.
A steady stream of toxic spores is being released into the area. Hold on. Emergency life support is inbound.
As good a room as any to start on. Make sure these guys are steel path. Yeah, they're 110s. Okay. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to know. We actually, on stream, we did regular old Apollodorus for about 10 minutes without realizing it. And then switched to the steel path, and it looked identical. So yeah, especially, I mean, like, the Infested obviously pose the least threat in terms of their bulk. But the most threat in terms of some of their special units, you know, draining all of your energy and whatnot, which can be a huge problem. Yeah, you can see, like, the damage, like, there's no damage problems here. Like, damage issues, we do not know her. And the spawn rates, of course, on Steel Path, even if you're solo, tend to be what we've always wanted, so good stuff here. I was pretty confident, even without doing, like, a test run off recording, that this mission was going to go pretty well. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I mean, I'm Zephyr. But yeah, for those of you that, like, don't know what I'm doing, due to Zephyr's rework, her tornadoes, if you hold, can be placed in a specific location. You can use her, too, to suck enemies into it, and whenever you hit each tornado with the Fulmin, which has infinite enemy punch-through, and if you're jumping, you have over 100% critical chance, and you're using Hunter munitions to put a ton of slash procs on every single enemy that is inside the tornado. Or, well, not even inside, as you can see, just in the area of effect of the tornadoes. And that's very effective for killing any enemy that is affected by this. Worth noting, the Acolytes are affected by the tornadoes and will take a huge amount of damage. Most of the trouble that Zephyr is going to have in Steel Path at all is going to be related to enemies that are just not affected by this strategy. Because this is, of course, you know, a very high damage thing. So it's very similar to, like, a Banshee strategy, actually, where anything that's affected by what Banshee does is pretty much going to evaporate to Banshee's strategy. But anything that's not vulnerable to it is going to be a significant issue. Luckily, Infested don't have any units except Juggernauts that can spawn that are immune to this. So, shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, we're just gonna be hanging out doing this for a little bit until the Acolyte shows up. So I might skip the video, I might just, like, show the process here, but it's pretty much gonna be this. Like, this is what Zephyr does. This is what she's real good at. Is just getting all the enemies together and then one-shotting them all. Actually, hold on. Pause for music. Alright, we return. Now we're chilling. Yeah, due to the setup constraints that I have at my parents' place, which is, like, I made it work out pretty well. If anybody wants to see the setup that I threw together on Twitter. I think there's going to be a little more ragtag around here for a bit, but it should be pretty enjoyable still, I hope. And of course, with the YouTube side of things, the magic of editing can hopefully help out in a number of spots. Hey, here it comes. Good. So generally speaking, you want to use the Zorus whenever they show up. And there we go. Got our Steel Path and or our Steel Path tokens, and our I'm on auto. Whoopsies. There we go. And our Arcane. And that's, like, I mean, you can do this for as long as you want to, basically. Obviously, I'm gonna have to go and grab air at some point here. Even though, like, you know, the massive amount of enemies that I'm killing. We're on what? Yeah, we killed like 700 enemies, but life support go down apparently. So you know how it goes. Sometimes life support just doesn't spawn. But I mean, you could even do this just like 5 minutes at a time if you wanted to. Obviously, much easier to not, though.
Support has been replenished.
I do like areas like this staircase, though, because it always feels like the spawn rate stays pretty consistent. You definitely don't want, on this tile set, and it's kind of, like, odd to say, you don't want any of, like, the really big rooms, because the really big rooms in this tile set are actually, like, really poorly optimized for doing survivals, or defenses, for that matter. Shoutouts to the defense room being fucking gigantic on this tile set. Basically, they're just, like, not optimized to get the enemies to spawn and get them to you. So enemies will spawn very far away from you and then have to run very slowly a very long distance for them to be within, like, a reasonable area of effect for you. So for some Warframes, that's not really a problem if you're running, like, Mesa, who's got that, you know, nice 50-meter radius or whatever. But whenever we're trying to do a nice little ball of enemies and just evaporate them as Zephyr, we need a bit more of a specific terrain in order to get things done. Of course, just using the little bit of Zenerk that I have. I didn't show my focus tree. I have rank 2 of Energizing Dash, so that exists. This account has played about 80 hours or so, is what the profile says, I believe. We can check after this. And yeah, not great. I think the focus gains in Steel Path, though, are... No, they're bad. Never mind. I just looked in here and it says 800. Never mind. It's still terrible. Still complete garbage. That's a topic for another video, though.
Additional life support has arrived.
Also, as Zephyr, if anyone wants a tip, always jump whenever you use your 2, because it makes it cost half energy. Not actually very important whenever you have, you know, like a busted energy economy, if you're using, like, Energize or whatnot. But whenever you're scraping by with what you've got, would highly advise it. Oh, and that right there, that's one of the major things you do not want to get hit by. If you get hit by the dashing enemies with the poison cloud, you will die. As Zephyr on Steel Path, you will die. 100% guarantee you will die.
The spores have almost completely saturated the atmosphere. You need to get out of there.
Oh, Angst. Angst is also a bit more of a problem for Zephyr. We're gonna go grab one of these before we kill her. It's because these infested don't want to drop their shit.
Life support activated.
There we go. Grabbing all that. Taking a light breeze of some toxin procs here, which is no good, as I do not have a way to heal. But yeah, if you stay here long enough with, like, no way to heal your health or anything, eventually against the infested, they're going to kill you a couple times. But, you know, I mean, if you're doing an hour survival, you die once or twice, maybe once to an Acolyte and once to eventually getting killed by the poison, it's honestly really not bad at all. Yeah, we'll hit the 10-minute mark here, and then, you know, I think this is enough of like a proof of, hey, here it is. This is what Zephyr is up to in the Steel Path. This is the free-to-play account. I just wanted to show where we're at and what we're up to, and try and start get some merciless stuff going. It is worth noting that I did bite the bullet and I did the sacrifice and all that with just the regular moat amp, which was absolutely miserable, just so I could get here, because you do have to fight Ropalolist in order to unlock the Steel Path. But I think overall, compared to the suffering... Oh yeah, Primary Merciless is what we love to see. Compared to the suffering that is farming an amp, doing the sacrifice with the moat amp is probably the lesser of the two evils. So hopefully the stuff the DE has talked about recently with fixing the Steel Path, or not the Steel Path rather, but the gaining amps, is a thing that happens.
Unread inbox messages make me ill.
Yeah, that's the farm there. I think that gives me exactly enough to head over to Larunda and grab my first primary unlocker, which I'm not sure if I actually want to put it on the Fulmin or the Sea-Doo, honestly. Because the Sea-Doo is also extremely good. Cool, I have a credit blessing. Yeah, I believe between all the Acolytes I've killed so far, I have enough for my first primary unlocker. And I would definitely advise... Oh, I have way more than enough. Never mind. And I would definitely advise always going with a primary arcane adapter first, as I would tend to focus on primary weapons before secondary weapons, just as a new player in general, once you're going to get to the Steel Path. Although, arguably, once you're at the Steel Path, if you're in the Steel Path actively farming the Acolytes and like getting your arcanes online, the term new player may no longer be appropriate. But yeah, I think I'm going to throw this into the Sea-Doo, actually. Because this weapon is just, like, the more long-term, extremely safe investment. So, we'll go based on that. Then one more primary Merciless, and then I can get double damage. But even just one is a really, you know, it's a pretty significant increase in damage. It's an additional 60%. So, obviously, once we're up in here, about rank 3 is where I would say you could start dropping your point blanks and your serrations and hornet strikes and such like that. But yeah, just getting started with primary merciless. Probably actually going to invest like a Forma into the Kidu or the Sea-Doo. Not sure well, maybe I don't even need to. I might do it. Who can really say? It doesn't actually require it after we have primary merciless, because... Oh, no. After I get the galvanized mods, that's whenever this is going to need something, because I'm going to drop point blank for galvanized savvy, and then I'll need a Forma for that one. And I think that one Forma will actually also then allow me to max out Frigid Blast, so I think this weapon will be, you know, effectively done on one Forma, and the second Forma would only really be if I were to grab Primed Ravage. Because if I get Galvanized Chamber, that will just fit in this slot, even if it's maxed out. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. That's where we're at. That's how far the free-to-play through has come. I'm not sure how much more I want to do on the free-to-play through. If you guys have stuff that you think I should do that I haven't yet, let me know. But yeah, that's where we are. I'm probably at least going to finish, you know, I'm going to get in here and finish the last 10 ranks of the Nightwave, because the free-to-play is further than my main account is right now on the Nightwave. And it, you know, it hasn't been hard, just very casually, just to kind of praise the Nightwave here a little bit. Obviously, we did the Nightwave speed run, and that was unfortunately not a success because of a bug. I have been hyper casually doing this Nightwave, and I'm at rank 20, and it's only been, you know, what is it, a month and a half and maybe some change of this account, and like it's not like I've been logging in every day. Like, it's been, you know, reasonably sparse and stuff, and like I'm at rank 20, like just a little bit more and I'll be at 30, and it feels good. Like, it feels really nice. Like, I'm not even doing this 3 sorties one. Like, I'm actively not even bothering with challenges that are like even mildly annoying. But yeah, I've got some just like general criticism overall of like certain progression areas of the game, which is going to be its own video. But overall, I'm very happy with where the free-to-play through is. And yeah, I will see you guys later.